Welcome to the Verdant Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdant, joined by my guy, G-Sportz. G, how you doing, man?
Trying to stay warm.
Good luck. I got the damn flannel on. We got everything going. The
Yeah.
snow's out here. School's canceled today. School's canceled tomorrow. I'm locked up in the house. Nothing to do but talk ball, G. Nothing to do.
Yep.
So, got a couple of interesting pieces that we're gonna kind of pick everybody's brain about today. First things first, obviously, everybody watches the Pivot podcast. Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, Janet Crowder. This is a nice little group that they got together, right? They get Nick Saban on the podcast and they get to show his true colors, if you will. They get the goat comfortable. The goat had a little Freudian slip. Maybe not even a slip. Maybe he's just being honest. Maybe he's done. The career's over with and he's ripping the band-aid off, G. He's saying one of the biggest mistakes he ever made was leaving LSU. And it just hurts the heart. The LSU fan just instantly thinks of all the championships and all the things that LSU could have done if Nick Saban stayed in Baton Rouge and not did his Miami to Alabama trek. Then we'll break down the NFL draft stock. Got a couple of good pieces for you there, but let's stick it to this Nick Saban conversation. All in all, really, he just talked about how he loved college football more. How when people were asking him, "What is your vision for your career?" Vince Lombardi or Bear Bryant, he instantly gravitated towards Bear Bryant. He never really envisioned himself as one of the bigger coaches in the professional scheme. Now, that's not saying he didn't enjoy professional ball. He loved professional ball. You got the best of the best. You got, some of the smartest coaches. It's really the elite level of football. So if you love the game, you got to love the pros. However, it's just something about college. It's probably the grip that you can have on your program. And then he, brought it back to the development of kids. How like in the NFL, the players are already the men who they are. They already found out about themselves. I mean, sure, yeah, you're going to learn some lessons and grow a little bit more, but most of your growth happens at the college level. And Nick Saban just talked about how he really enjoyed that. And like I said, to open the segment up, G, it just makes you think, what if? Would Alabama have gotten to the point that they're at? Would they have found their next Bear Bryant? Would Nick Saban have stayed at LSU? And would that program have had instantaneous success? How are you feeling? And when you heard this, G, what was your initial reaction?
I'm about to drop another nugget. Do y'all not see the pattern that we've been watching from Nick Saban since he's retired? This is about his third, maybe fourth time saying that he has regretted leaving LSU and that he loves LSU. You saw him on college game day. It looked like he was at home. He just kind of dropping little gems, just letting people know, like, I love this place. This ain't nothing nobody told me. This is just my Nostradamus coming out of me right now. You know what I mean? Do not be shocked if this thing don't work out with Brian Kelly, which I hope it does, because I'm not calling for Brian Kelly to lose his job. But hypothetically speaking, let's just say it don't work out. Tiger fans, do not be shocked if Nick Saban comes back to Baton Rouge. Don't be shocked. He's not saying this publicly over and over for nothing. You got to read between the lines here. And I think that is putting even more pressure on Brian Kelly this year. And just do not be alarmed if you see this don't work out with BK, that Nick Saban comes back to Baton Rouge.
So what do you think that they would have to do to make that happen? Like, what is it as simple as a phone call? Could they potentially have already had some type of before? Like, how do you feel this out?
I personally think that talks have already been had. That's just what my gut tells me.
Just imagine the reaction. Phone buzzes, LSU,
Yeah.
Nick Saban.
Yeah. And to take it a step further, right, man, you got to understand when Nick Saban keeps talking about he loves LSU and that was one of his biggest regrets. Think about the dudes he left behind when he went to go to Miami. Bro, Jamarcus Russell was a true freshman on that team. Skylar Green was a sophomore. Joseph Adai was a sophomore. Alec Broussard was a sophomore. Justin Vincent was a freshman. Lorian Landry was a freshman. Kirsten Pickens was a freshman. Andrew Whitworth was a sophomore.
Damn.
Buster Davis, freshman. Kyle Williams, sophomore. Like, all of dudes played in the league and was high draft picks. He knows if he would have stayed put, LSU might be sitting at about 6, 7 national titles right now. I really believe that. And he knows that Louisiana is one of those states where if you could get 80 to 90% of the talent to stay home, you're going to be in the mix to win the SEC and have an opportunity to hold that trophy at the end of the year. He knows that.
To see
when you're at Alabama, right, you're going to get some good kids from Alabama, but you got to go dab into Atlanta and Georgia. You got to go dab into Florida. You got to get a couple from Mississippi. You got to steal a couple from Louisiana. You got to go into Texas. It's a different dynamic, and he did a good job of it. But when you in Louisiana, you just got to get a couple here and there from out the state. If you can get the bulk of the state to stay home, you in the game, bro. And I think Nick Saban understands that. And with how recruiting is going now, and what he's done in the past at LSU in a short amount of time, you can't forget that. I think he would come back home. Yeah, I'm calling LSU his home. I know he's not from Louisiana, but goddamn, he act like it.
Come on, yeah. Look
he
at
act like it.
Talk about he got. It's got to be close to home. You got all this property out here.
Yeah. And I think what he loves so much about college football, and I think this is a part of why he kind of decided to take a step back. Yeah, he's saying he's retiring, but I think he decided to take a step back because when you come to Nick Saban's program, it's a process when you come in as a freshman. Very seldom you see somebody come in as a true freshman and play a significant time and have an impact on the team, unless you got somebody like a Julio Jones. It's just not common. And for him to get the best out of you, not only as a football player, but as a person, he needs you to stay in his program for about 2 years. Some kids, it might take 3 years. And I think he's taking a step back from college to figure out with the NIL and the transfer portal, how he can get back to getting guys to understand that you need to stay in my program for at least a couple of years to go through my process so I can get you to reach your full potential. And I think that's what he's doing right now as he's sitting out of college football. I think he's coming up with a plan, figuring some things out, talking to some different people on how he can get college football to the point to where he gets kids to go through his process. And I think he knows something's about to happen with the NCAA, where they're about to put some regulations with that transfer portal, which will put him back in position to be able to get guys to stay put and go through his process. And now you get guys flourishing, not only in college, but when they leave to go to the NFL or when they leave to go in the real world. That's my take on Nick Saban. Like I say, I don't want Tiger fans to think I'm calling for BK's job and I want BK to fail this year, because I don't. I'm very fond of BK. But if it doesn't work out, do not be surprised if Nick Saban comes back to Baton Rouge.
And that's the interesting aspect. Everybody automatically just talks about how Nick Saban left when the NIL world just started ramping up. But, you're talking about restrictions, sanctions, regulations. Eventually, they got to put some type of constraints on this Wild West. It can't just be wild guns blazing, fastest drawing hand in the West. That's not how it's always going to be. I mean, maybe in the beginning, but if that really was what potentially pushed him out, if he still loves the game, if he's still ready to go, which I feel like he could. I mean, he's on College Game Day, G. That's a lot of work. That's not like he's just chilling at home. He's still hustling. He's still grinding. He's traveling all over the country still prepping for games. I believe he said the way he looked at the notes and he looked at the film was similar to how he prepared as a head coach. So I feel like he's still in the mix, in the loop. He wouldn't have any rust to knock off. And I don't know if you feel this, G, but it's equivalent to, like, let's say you get around that August period and football's about to come back. You see everybody at fall camp. You see everybody putting on the gear. You see all that football start, kind of picking up, and you get a little excited. You get that feeling back, G. You ready to go pop something. You might even want to put some pads on and go run through the gap. He might be getting that feeling, getting close to these programs and being on game day and being around these environments. And then, like you said, coming home to Baton Rouge. He's been home more recently than he has ever with all this time. Maybe it's taken a trip down memory lane, and it's reactivating some neurons.
And for him to say that on the pivot and the way he said it, I think you gotta kind of. I'm insinuating something right there. I'm sorry. My grandmother told me when I was 12 years old I had a gift of discernment. I think it's more to this than just saying I regret leaving Baton Rouge, bro. I just think it's more to it, and we're gonna see how it play out. And I think it was a blessing in the sky that he left Alabama because he needed to reset himself. He needed to reset himself, man. Kind of step away from the game, and because he said his last year at Alabama was his most challenging year, and I think that this is going to recharge him. This is going to put that battery in his back.
A resurgence of Nick Saban. Sometimes G gotta let it go, see if it come back to you. If it come back to you,
Hey, we
bro.
gotta replay this if this happened now.
Remember the date, man. January 22nd, man. Nostradamus G back at it again. This would be your biggest pull yet. I ain't gonna lie. This would be insane.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the NFL draft real quick. We got some I'm not gonna say all too early. It's not all too early no more. Yeah, we're in January, but I feel like college football season's over. Now it's mock draft time. Now it's that part of the year where Mel Kiper drops 1.0, and he did. And he's got an interesting name in the top 4. And I kind of want to pick your brain about it. And then we're going to have another conversation here about who should be number 1. But it looks like Will Campbell could be the SEC's first pick off the board. So shout out to Will. A lot of people probably expected it to be maybe a Jalen Milroe. I've seen some people even talk about Jalon Walker, the linebacker from Georgia. Sometimes you see murmurs of Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M going into that top 10 range. But if Mel Kiper is correct, and the Patriots grab Will Campbell with the 4th pick, the Southeastern Conference numero uno in 2025. Now, these are the other destinations I could probably see him going to. Patriots at 4, like we said. Jaguars at 5. I think protecting Trevor Lawrence is probably one of their biggest needs. And then I don't know if you would agree with this, G, but I just don't know what else you grab with that risk, right? Quarterbacks paid for, wide receivers ball, and defense looks promising. I think you just got to go with the trenches. Bears at number 10. They're obviously entering a time kind of similar. They got their running back pieces. They got their quarterback, obviously. They got some wide receiver talent. Maybe they could do better in that, regard. But if you just put all the chips in on your number 1 pick and Caleb Williams, it would make sense to protect him as well. And lastly, the Niners. Oh, Brock Purdy. Choo! I mean, every Niners quarterback through the last 3 years has gotten banged up. God bless them. I think the trench is probably one of their better spots as well that they could get. G, what you think about Will Campbell and kind of just revisiting that whole best destination conversation we had about a week or 2 ago?
I think you left somebody out that could possibly go in that top 10, and that's Pierce, the DN from Tennessee. I think he's probably the best pass rusher in the draft, arguably next to Abdul Carter from Penn State. But I'm gonna be a little biased toward Pierce because I watched him a little more than Abdul Carter, and I just think he has the best get off in the draft. Kelvin Banks, man, from Texas, from an athletic standpoint and just the feed and his kick step, I think he might have a slight edge over Will. But what Will has over a lot of people, and I don't know Kelvin Banks, I don't know his mindset, but I do know Will Campbell's mindset. And I know his mentality, I know his makeup. I've been covering him since he was a freshman at Neville High School. He might have the best mental makeup and mindset that I've been around. Like, I'm not saying he's the best ever, the best mental mindset. I'm just saying that I've been around. He's one of them. He has one of them, bro. Like, his mental toughness, his ability to be able to have short-term memory when he makes a mistake, his leadership qualities, is second to none, bro. And he is going to make a locker room better. He's going to be on time, bro. He's going to hold people accountable. He's going to hold himself accountable. And he's going to work his ass off. Now, I've heard a few rumors from a couple scouts that I've talked at some of the games that some people say, he might possibly move to right tackle. And if that's true, I don't see a right tackle going. If you envision him playing right tackle, I don't see them going in the top 10. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong about that. But if I needed a tackle, even though I think Kelvin Banks might be more athletic than Will, I'm going with Will Campbell. I'm going with the mindset and the mental makeup.
Yep. I agree. I feel like sometimes the talent, it's what gets you to the show. How do I word this? I'm gonna say the talent sometimes gets you to the show, but sometimes what you know and how you act keeps you there. And then they have another aspect to the draft protocol. I love the story. I mean, we probably told it a million damn times on the show, but it's just the fact that sometimes there's a player that is better, but this guy might bring a culture and a mindset to the team that's going to be distracting and that's going to kind of be a cancer to what you're trying to build. There's another guy that could be an addition. He might not be the stud and the superstar that everybody might initially see, at least on paper, but the translation to the overall environment that you're trying to build. I think that does have a big impact. And I mean, when you're talking about the draft, some of these players, honestly, most of these players, their biggest role, they're gonna be holding a couple water bottles. They're gonna be on the sideline for a little bit, being, spectators. They're not gonna be the biggest pieces. Will Campbell, obviously, he'll be. I mean, if he's getting drafted in the top first round, maybe half of the second round, you'll see some playing time. Most of those other pieces, though, you are cutting your teeth. Now you have to show what else you bring to the table. So I feel like the mindset is very, very an underrated
Will
aspect of that game.
Will Campbell's gonna be one of those guys that plays in the league for like 12 to 15 years. He's gonna be like an Andrew Whitworth.
100%. And then which is crazy because like how physical he plays, how aggressive he plays. Like you would think that he would not be able to withstand all that, but that just goes to show how much of a force he is, how big he is, how dominant he could be. It
Yeah.
definitely be one of the more prevalent offensive linemen out of LSU. They're gonna have a big class coming out though. Brad Davis been putting in their work. They about to have a lot of people in the league, I think, that turning heads. So before we get out of this draft conversation, though, they got some more names that we could pick. Let's talk quarterbacks, G. Let's talk Cam Ward. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders. Who would you draft first? I feel like I'll give you my pick first. And this is not necessarily a bias, but I mean, we always talk about future proofing a team. We always talk about the direction that the sport is going in. And I feel like it's pretty clear. I mean, let's look at Jaden Daniels the year prior, CJ Stroud. You could talk about two of the best quarterbacks who are probably going to win the MVP, either or Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. What do all of them possess? The ability to extend the play, the mobility, the legs to really piss off every defensive coordinator in the NFL, to put it bluntly. I think that Cam Ward possesses more of that ability than Shedeur Sanders. And it's not saying Shedeur has cinder blocks on his feet, immobilized in the pocket, but I think Cam has an explosive ability that you could probably build off of. He reminds me the most of a Lamar Jackson. Another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, like Shedeur, I think what I would like with him is just that mindset and that image that he has. We just talked about Will Campbell's mindset and how he's going to help a team get better. You could argue that Shedeur Sanders will as well. I mean, sometimes that primetime mindset, it skews some people away. Some people don't like that. I feel like that cockiness, that confidence, you need it in sports. If you don't feel like you're number one, I don't think you're going to be able to have all that get translated out there. Shedeur Sanders could also be a very valuable pick. I'm gonna go with Cam Ward. I like the mobility. I like the fact that he showed me some superstar ability. Some I'll put you on my back like a backpack and carry this whole team to the promised land ability. What do you think? Who you picking? Put your GM cap on.
Obviously, when you look at Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I feel like it's a flip of a coin. I don't think, when you evaluating these two guys, you just saying that, okay, Shedeur is clearly better than Cam Ward, or Cam Ward is clearly better than Shedeur Sanders. I think these guys have the makeup to be really good NFL players. But as I say all the time, and I'm sounding like a broken record, it's all about the situation, bro. They have to go to the right uh, organization, with the right offensive coordinator, with the right pieces around them, with a good coach in that locker room, for them to be able to flourish in the NFL. And I use this analogy all the time, right? When David Carr was coming out and Ben Roethlisberger was coming out, David Carr went number one in the draft to the Texans. Ben Roethlisberger went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two totally different situations, right? If Ben Roethlisberger gets picked by the Texans, we don't even know who that is.
Yeah, fact.
He doesn't even have the nickname Big Ben because of the situation he went into. He went into a Pittsburgh Steelers organization that had good coaching, right? He had a hard nosed coach that had a track record of running this organization the right way. And Tom Coughlin had a great defense, had a great running game, good offensive line, didn't have to do too much, so he was able to develop slowly. David Carr went to the Texans where they had a terrible offensive line. He got sacked the most in NFL history, and his career never went anywhere. And so I think the same thing about these guys, right? The Titans got the number one pick. if I'm prime time, man, I don't want Shedeur going to the Titans.
Mm-mm.
They just fired their GM, right? It's kind of is the organization seems like it's a little bit in disarray, and so I don't know if that's a good situation for him or Cam Ward to go to. Just being honest with you, right? You think about somebody like the Giants, who, you know, and I've got this firsthand from former players, Corey Webster, Brandon Jacobs, where they said they treat their players like second to none, and they make sure that they keep a good environment with their New York Giant organization, right? Of course, they haven't looked the best over the last couple of years, right? And they let their fan base know that the bowl is coming back. I think the bowl is a good coach. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. People forget that he played a big part in the Josh Allen's success when he first got in the league. People can't forget that. Daniel Jones just ain't the answer. You put somebody like Shedeur Sanders or even Cam Ward over there, you already got a stud like Malik Neighbors. You add another piece to that, right? Now the Giants probably could be a team that's a wild card team next year. Possibly, right? Because their defense was solid, right? They just didn't have anything to work with on offense. And so I think, like I said, flip of the coin with either one of these guys, bro. I watched both of them very closely this year. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, man. You know, it's all about the right fit they go to in the right organization, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of the more recent comparisons that I could give you is Bryce Young and Jaden Daniels, two separate draft classes, but two very polar opposite instances. Panthers were not in a spot to be able to have a quarterback or a playoff team develop. Commanders in the other situation were, and they had a front office that was eager and excited to kind of get them to the forefront of that playoff environment. And I feel like the more that you see these players get put into these situations, the more you also kind of get to see how they handle the adversity, how they respond to the BS that comes with the NFL, because it's not always, sunshines and rainbows, obviously.
The Giants got the fourth pick.
The Giants have the third pick, I thought.
Third pick. Who got the second pick?
The fourth pick is the Patriots. The second pick would be the Browns. First pick's the Titans.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the Browns or the Titans is good situations for either one of these dudes.
It doesn't make sense. The Browns, Mel Kiper, according to Mel, they're picking Travis Hunter.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. And so let's talk about the Patriots. Mike Vrabel. I thought this guy got a raw deal in Tennessee. I don't think he should have ever been fired. He's gonna do a good job running that team. Played for the Patriots, understands what Mr. Kraft wants. You mess around, go sign T. Higgins in the offseason. And who was their number one receiver this year? I'm having a brain for it. But I think the Patriots would be a good situation for Shedeur or Cam Ward, in my opinion, man. It's about culture, man. It's about an organization running things the right way, man. I just don't think that the Titans or the Browns is going to be set up for success for either one of these guys.
It's hard to say Browns and success in the same sentence. Like, my mouth don't fix that way. Every now I can't get it out. I feel like I'm choking up on some words or something. Gee, it's tough.
Yeah, bro. Like Myles Garrett trying to get out of there. Denzel Ward trying to get out of there. I mean,
everybody trying to get out.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't even know who the name of the head coach for the Titans. I can't even remember his name, and I don't even forget stuff like that. So that tell you a lot.
Let me look it up. Now we gotta figure it out.
I can't even remember the dude's name.
Brian Callahan.
Brian Callahan.
Got it done. Let's talk about this snow real quick, G. We got everybody in the chat. I hope all y'all staying warm. Hope you didn't get damn frostbite. Look at Tiger Stadium and ice. Look at Hace Frio.
Man, look like we're in Michigan, man.
Whoa, look like we're in the Big Ten out there.
Throw the M's.
Bryce Underwood, huh? This maybe if you show him this picture, he come. Maybe it changes my remind him of home. It's crazy though. What is it, 8 to 10 inches? I saw a video of Patrick Payton hit the Snow Angels. I was like, man, we getting active. Hey, last night I had to throw that pigskin outside. Felt like Josh Allen, bro. I was out there. Had to reenact what a snow game felt like. I mean, gee, we don't get this that many times. I think I saw snow like 2 times in my entire life. Let's talk national championship real quick. Let's talk about Ryan Day, Ohio State doing the inevitable. I mean, as tough as it might be to see, especially for UG, it happened. Kind of, exactly the way we thought. I mean, the first half, it started closer. That first quarter was close. That's kind of like what we thought. Second quarter, started getting a little worrisome. Third quarter, I don't know. It's like most people are kind of out of it by then. And in the fourth quarter, it slowly became something. It slowly became okay. Are they going to be able to make a push? And then naturally, that 11-point spread gets hit after the field goal. My overall takeaways: Ohio State in the second quarter, like I said, pulled away a little faster than I expected. I thought maybe it would be competitive for the whole game, but these national championship games, it's been few and far in between. Both passing games are very nice, though. Both quarterbacks had 230 plus. I think Riley Leonard had the bigger total at around 250. Here's the difference, G. The obvious difference. Run game. Quinshawn Judkins, shout out. I think he had 11 carries, 100 yards, 9 per carry, 2 touchdowns. The only thing I could think of the whole game was how proud he must be that he put himself in a situation to compete for a national championship, to have that opportunity, to carry that rock for a program that was this close. I mean, Ole Miss is a good program, and I'm not dissing Lane Kiffin. I'm not dissing Jackson Dart or anybody over there in the Grove, but you're not Ohio State. You don't have Jeremiah Smith. You don't have Trey Henderson. You don't got Will Howard. You don't got Ryan Day calling plays for what it's worth. Jack Sawyer. I mean, I don't want to sit here and name the whole damn roster, but I feel like Ohio State put him in a better chance to succeed, and you got to watch him grab that moment by the horns. They've been on an incredible run. Obviously, everybody's talking about, 2019, we're going to compare him to LSU. It always happens. I mean, get used to it, because anytime a trophy's going to get raised, you're going to get compared to him. It's just the price of being at the top. What do you think about the game, G, and just your overall reactions? I mean, I'm sure we weren't surprised, but
First of all, comparing them to the 2019 team is just absurd. Like,
gotta
stop
go
it.
through it, right? Every year.
Ohio. Now, I will say this from a talent standpoint, like far as like high draft picks they got on that roster, I think it's comparable. But far as the performance they showed throughout the duration of the season, absolutely not. Please stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Please go kill yourself. Uh, man, look, this just go to show you how emotional college fans are, right? When Ohio State lost the first game of the season to Oregon, what people were saying, Ryan Day on a hot seat, man, we need to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Surely when he lost to Michigan, you know people was calling for his head. And I'm kind of glad that he was able to win his national championship, because maybe some of these ADs will stop being so damn impatient. Because they were saying that Ryan Day should have got fired last year. You have to understand that in college sports and in the NFL and in the NBA, any professional sports, college sports, whatever, bro, a lot of stuff got to go right for you to hold that trophy up, bro. You got to be injury free for the most part. You need a little luck. You need to be matched up against certain teams going into that playoff run. Like, a lot of things got to go right, bro. That ball got to bounce a little way if you fumble and it's jumping on the ground and we able to recover. Like, a lot of different things got to happen, bro. And I thought Texas, that was my pick to win the national championship. I thought Texas had the best team top to bottom. Unfortunately, Quentin Ewers didn't play at the level I thought he was going to play at.
Not even close.
Yeah, he didn't. You know, and I still think he's a good quarterback, but I thought he was going to be a Heisman Trophy type of player this year, and it just didn't happen. And I thought that's why Sarkisian reverted to the run game so much this year. They ran the ball way more than they threw the ball. They tight end Helm was the number one receiver, and that just let me know that it was a disconnect with Quentin Ewers and his receiving core this year. But having said all of that, Ohio State, I'm glad to see the adversity they overcame to be able to win his national championships. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I got to get a shout out to Will Howard, because I was very, very skeptical of him when they brought him in out the transfer portal. He came from Kansas State, right?
Yeah.
Thought he was a good quarterback. Didn't know if he could get it done. Didn't know if he had what it took to get it done. But it goes to show you, when you got great players around you, this the kind of stuff can happen. He wasn't asked to do too much. Man, the dude was 17 for 21. How efficient was that? 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. But when you got people like Henderson, Junkins, Abuka, Jeremiah Smith, Like when you got all of that type of talent around you, all you got to do is not mess it up. And he did a good job of extending plays with his legs, getting first downs, and scrambling out the pocket. I thought his mobility was very underrated going into the playoffs,
Yep.
and he showed it in the national championships.
He showed it more than Riley Leonard.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the key things that happened to Notre Dame and why this game got out of hand when he got down 31-7 is they couldn't run the ball, bro. They was averaging 2 yards a carry on the whole night. Their longest run was 8 yards, bro. And that's not Notre Dame's game. They Jeremiah Love and 24, the other running back, forgot his name, Price. Those guys been a good two-headed monster all year. Riley Leonard did a good job of, quarterback draws and quarterback powers. They just couldn't run the ball at all. It's too bad they waited so late to get Greathouse involved because he had a damn out-of-body experience in the second half. Should have probably been getting the ball way more than he did this year. He was the reason why they got back in the game. Then Brock started dialing it up, and he made some plays. Shout out to Marcus Freeman, man, getting his team to not quit though and play to the end. Because when they got to an 8-point game, I was a little concerned for Ryan D. I was like, man, if this happened to him, bro, man, he might have to delete all his social media. He might have to get a private plane back to Columbus.
Lit boy.
Yeah, but they was able to figure it out, and they was a better team, man. We knew that going into this game. We knew Ohio State was a better team. And what I said going into this game, if Notre Dame wanted to win, they was gonna have to make some plays on special teams, block a punt, run a punt back. They was gonna need something in that third phase to be able to beat this team because they just couldn't match up with them. The physicality, I think Ohio State saw how physical Notre Dame was with Georgia, and they was able to match it, and that's why they couldn't run the ball. And when Notre Dame couldn't run the ball, we know it was canceled Christmas.
Yeah, the life got sucked out of them almost instantaneously.
Yeah,
I want to kind of bring this up. Like, I ain't trying to beat a dead horse or bring over all these conversations repeatedly over and over and over and over and over every stream. But Notre Dame fans, how we feeling? Because a lot of people were talking about Brian Kelly. A lot of people were talking about, oh, Marcus Freeman was a better choice. Oh, Brian Kelly did something ridiculous going to LSU. Oh, this, all that. Look, now y'all in the same situation. And I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn. I'm not sitting here saying Brian Kelly made the right choice. All I'm saying is sometimes it's tougher than you think. Sometimes these decisions is more than meets the eye to them. Maybe Brian Kelly did make a smart choice. Everybody's automatically saying because Notre Dame's national championship appearance happened quicker than LSU's, that it was a reflection of one person being wrong and one person being right. Maybe two people are just on two different paths in their own, entity. That's how I'm feeling.
I beg to differ for anybody that would try to compare the two situations.
I agree.
When Brian Kelly went to the national championship, they got blew out the water. The Notre Dame fans started beating the traffic in the third quarter, bro. I mean, it wasn't even close. Marcus Freeman team, yeah, they got down 31-7, but they battled back, and they was a play away from getting that ball back and having an opportunity to go down there and tie the game.
The competition definitely different. At least the result that's making me kind of interested on just how the overall vibe is on Kelly and Freeman is because, like, I'm big on Freeman. I like him. I think, it's even more interesting because not a lot of people get this wrinkle to the game. Dude played at Ohio State. Dude's alma mater was on the other sideline. Like, bro, he probably was not gonna say a little excited, but that's a childhood moment that you dream of. I definitely think he's in a good spot. But my reaction, I just see all this backlash on Coach Kelly, and everyone's like, "Oh, Notre Dame's doing better. It's all because of you." I feel like it's kind of the opposite. I feel like
And you heard what BK said, man. He recruited a lot of them guys. Xavier Watts.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of a spot where it's like
he recruited a lot of them guys, bro. Wisner, the linebacker, like he recruited a lot of them guys. And,
on both sides of the ball.
And at the end of the day, Notre Dame gonna always be relevant because they're Notre Dame.
Yep.
But they just don't have the guys, top to bottom, to be able to win a national championship, in my opinion. But I think Marcus Freeman has an opportunity to change that. I know it's hard to get into Notre Dame, and I know the academic requirements and all that. I think Marcus Freeman's gonna figure out a formula, man, to be able to start getting guys top to bottom, bro. Because on offense, no disrespect to Greathouse, good player. I think, he had a really good performance, but him and Mitchell and forgot the other receiver, forgot the third receiver, huh? What you said?
I said him.
Oh, okay. Uh, they just don't have studs at the receiver position. And you gotta have guys that could run, and you have to have guys that could make a play when a 50-50 ball is going when a 50 ball is in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah Love, I thought he was their best offensive player. I think the tight end pretty good. They always gonna have a good offensive line, you know that. But I just think at the receiver position, man, you just got to get more explosive. You got to get guys that's athletic and that can run and they can win them 50-50 balls. If they can do that and get a little more athletic on the D line, Notre Dame can win the national championship. But you know, when you start going against teams like Georgia and Ohio State and Texas and you know the Alabamas of the world, the LSU's of the world, dog, you gotta have some athletes, bro, that can run.
Yep.
You gotta have some freak of natures on both sides of the ball. And I thought that Ohio State had that. You know, they had that and it showed up. And you know what else we talked about? Notre Dame was about to pick their poison. Either you're gonna stop the run and let Jeremiah and Jigba kill you, or you're gonna run too deep high safety, take somebody out the box, and let the run game kill you. And that's what happened, bro. 6 yards of carry, running the ball for Ohio State.
9 from Quinshawn, G.
6
9
yards of carry is crazy work. That's insane work.
and
So
building off your point about the talent, I feel that's kind of like why I'm feeling. I'm not and like I like Marcus, but that's why I'm feeling the BK scrutiny is just BS. It's like I don't get it. Like
yeah,
everybody following him for going to a spot where he thought he could have a better team and better talent. Everybody talks about all the talent in Louisiana, all the talent that's really close by. I just don't get why, as a football coach, people wouldn't expect you to go into a situation that is better. I mean, yeah, you're going to debate, is it? Is it better? One team's doing better. Is the situation better? I don't think that's a direct reflection. And I'm not saying I'm excited that they lost a national championship, but if they won, G, oh my God, I don't think Brian Kelly would have ever heard the end of it. I do want to bring up this statistic, though. The final rankings for college football this season has make history. The Big Ten has never had 3 of the top 5. G 3 of the top 5 comes from the Big Ten: Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. The other 2 were Notre Dame and Texas. There's one SEC team. It's obviously indicative of a change. College football is changing. The conferences are all getting a little more evened up. Not a lot, a little more. It's still, Big Ten and SEC powered. But you're starting to see some people creep in. The Big 12, the ACC, all your powers kind of got some people that are able to keep up with who we thought were some of the top programs. Um, got an interesting question for you before we move out this segment. I feel like even though the national championship game just ended, now you got a new game that starts, G, to keep your coach from going to the NFL game. It might sound crazy. I'm sure they got some coaches and some opportunities on this carousel that are going to get really desperate. We could probably start with the New Orleans Saints. You don't even got to go much further than Louisiana. I'm not saying they're going after a college coach, but their main primary coach that they wanted is probably going to go to the Jets and Aaron Glenn. So let's say a team is in a similar situation to New Orleans, right? They don't know who to pick. Their primary guy's gone. Now they're left back at the drawing board. How realistic is it for Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisian, anybody, Lincoln Riley, some of these big coaches who
Lincoln Riley.
what if, G? It's an
Oh,
what if somebody gets an opportunity to be an assistant, an analyst, to get out of the college game? We just talked about the game changing. Conferences are kind of creeping up. You think anybody feels froggy and jumps? You hear murmurs all the time. Does anybody feel froggy and jump? Who jumps the ship next? That's what I want to know.
I don't care who gets froggy and jumps from the college ranks to the NFL, but I sure in the hell don't want no college coach. I'm sorry. I don't. I want somebody that has a track record of being a head coach in the NFL, or you have a good resume of being a great coordinator, and that's what I want. I ain't got time for no damn projects. All right, it's been a long 2-3 years since Sean Payton and left. All right, we got to get this shit right, man. That's just the bottom damn line, and I'm very disappointed that when I say this, I'm not disappointed at Aaron Glenn. I'm just disappointed at the situation. Like, man, like I wanted Aaron Glenn. I wanted Aaron Glenn. He coached that with New Orleans, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson raved about it. Me and Amik Robinson talks about how he helped him with his development this year and how he's just a great coach. And he does a good job of getting guys to play at the highest level because he knows how to put you in positions. And I thought that, coming from a Meek man who has played for some defensive coordinators and some coaches in the league, this is 4 year. He understands how this thing goes. So, I thought Aaron Glenn was going to be a good guy for the job, especially with him understanding the culture of New Orleans already and the landscape, and him and Mickey Loomis knowing each other, him and Gail Benson. I think the reason why some coaches are leery of coming to the Saints is because of the cap space. The cap space, the quarterback situation. I think that's probably why some guys are rather go to the Bears. You got Caleb Williams. You got somebody you can work with them. You got with the Jets. They got a lot of cap space. All right.
Nice location.
Yeah. So, I think that's what they're looking at. And, I know Cam Jordan and Kamara came out and kind of gave their take on who they want their head coach to be. Look, man, I have no problem with Rizzy. That's how you say his last name, Rizzy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have no problem with Rizzy as a person and as a coach. I just don't think he has the resume and the track record to be the next head coach, bro. I just don't. I know Joe Brady's name's been floating around. I don't question Joe Brady's offensive mind and how he could develop an offense and how he could develop quarterbacks. My only thing with Joe Brady is, can he manage a team?
Yeah, right.
Can he handle these grown men day in and day out throughout a whole 17-game season? I don't know. Because it's a little different from just being a coordinator and then going to be a head coach. And 100%. Talking to some guys that played for Joe Brady at LSU, they say he's very, very low key. He's not somebody that kind of commands a room. Right now, things could have changed over the last few years since he left LSU. That was way in 2019. But I know a lot of people have raved about his offensive mind and his how innovative he is and things of that nature. So when you hear that he's not somebody that you remember commanding a room, it raises question marks for me. But hopefully he's evolved from that. Maybe being in the NFL has taken him up another step where he understands how to command a room of men and get guys to lead behind him.
Yep.
So we'll see, man. But Mike McCarthy, I would rather Mike McCarthy than Rizzy.
The Mike McCarthy project, whenever I first heard it, I ain't gonna lie to you, and I ain't gonna try to throw no diss or nothing, but whenever I saw Mike McCarthy and the Saints get interested, I had a gut feeling. I'm like, this feels like something they do. This feels like something that's gonna happen, and then it's gonna be not gonna say a dumpster fire. Hopefully it works out. But like, I wanted to ask two questions. So first, if Aaron Glenn does unfortunately go somewhere else, and you got your team who's already your big pieces on your team too, not just your first few year players. You got Alvin Kamara and Cam Jordan, arguably the two most important pieces of your franchise, actively expressing who they want. Do you take the shot and try to get someone like McCarthy and risk volatility in your job position, people calling for your job and all this stuff if it don't work out? If you keep Rizzy one more year, maybe you find another opportunity next year. Maybe you take the coach and search slower. Like, what would you rather, G? Would you rather them take McCarthy, it not work out, and then them blow the situation up? Or would you rather the Rizzy thing and kind of just, putting it off another year? And then last, I got another question. I'm going to parlay into this. I'm going to give you a twofer. Is New Orleans a tough place to sell? You talked about the cap space, but just like New Orleans as a whole, is the market, is the environment, is the team history, like, is that going to play a role into this as well, or does that not matter as much, you think?
Mike McCarthy, like I said, I would take him over Rizzy just because of the experience and things like that and his track record. But I think you could possibly lose the locker room if they hire Mike McCarthy. I know this for a fact. This ain't nothing I'm making up. This not something that I pulled out the sky. Ezekiel Elliott and Mike McCarthy didn't see eye to eye, and he's not the only player on the Cowboys that didn't see eye to eye. When I say don't see eye to eye, like, they had a serious problem with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think Ezekiel Elliott and Alvin Kamara talked to? You don't think Ezekiel Elliott and Cam Jordan having conversations about this? You don't think Michael Parsons and Cam Jordan having conversations about what kind of coach and what kind of person Mike McCarthy is? So they got to be careful because there's not some college kids that where they just gonna just conform like that. All right, Cam Jordan paid. He can hang it up right now. He good. Alvin Kamara paid. All right, just signed the extension. So you don't want your two biggest leaders to not believe in the head coach, and it gets to a point where they doing things out of spite.
Right, like going for it when you're saying to kneel it.
Yeah. And Ezekiel Elliott, and some of the things he shared and his father has shared about the type of things Mike McCarthy has said and the type of things he has done to some of them players with the Cowboys, man, Mickey Loomis better be very careful making a hire like that with Mike McCarthy. Like I say, I would probably bite the bullet and hire him over Rizzo. I probably would. Unless we hire Rizzo on something like, look, we're gonna give you 1 year and just see how it goes.
Small minuscule deal.
Signing him to an extension, like giving him a 4-year deal, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
It's a tough time right now, for the Saints trying to find the right fit as a head coach, because the high candidate is just not looking at New Orleans. Now, as far as the part when you're saying is New Orleans a hard place to sell, no, man. I've talked to a number of players that it has played in New Orleans. Me and Coach Curtis Johnson, CJ, who was the receiver coach all them years under Sean Payton that won a Super Bowl. He talks about the culture and the fan base and the food and the way the organization is ran is top tier. So I don't think any of that is a problem.
Okay.
I just think that right now, as head coach, as people that's trying to be a head coach, they looking at cap space. I mean, the Saints about to be $52 million over the cap.
That's the one spot they number one in all the time where no one wants them to be.
It's about to be $52 million over the cap, bro. So if I'm a head coach, I'm looking at like, okay, if I need to make some changes and upgrade in certain positions, we ain't even got the money to do it. So now I got to rely on the draft. Now I got to rely on a bunch of rookies to come in and make an impact on these positions that I need help in. Like, it's just not setting you up for success. Then you think about the quarterback position. Derek Carr, he owed all his money. He don't want to take a pay cut. He's shown that he is not the answer in New Orleans. So that sounds like a headache if I'm a head coach. That sounds like a headache. And I think that's the biggest part why Aaron Glenn, Johnson, the OC from the Lions, why they not even considering the New Orleans Saints.
You know what it sounds like, G? It sounds like up shit creek without a paddle, and there's a hole in your pirogue, G. I'm about to add somebody to that list of players you said has a problem with old Mike McCarthy, huh?
Yep.
Don't forget about this guy.
Yep.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. All time. And he couldn't even see eye to eye with a coach that they won a Super Bowl with. And it wasn't to a point where it was like they screaming at each other and all this stuff, but it was to a point where they have tension, where the team kind of feels like I feel like when you have too many chefs in the kitchen, you're not able to cook the recipe efficiently, right? Everybody feels like they got the most important piece. Now, does it go to the way that he commanded the locker room and gave them that feeling of importance? Maybe that had something to do with it. Aaron Rodgers is supposedly one of the biggest divas in the NFL right now. So, I mean, that might be a tough example to give. But, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, you said Michael Parsons, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, damn, Mike, how many star players have you coached? And how many of them actually like you at this point? Like, it seems like you got a lot of backlash that's coming. And I'm worried to see, how the Saints are going to dig themselves out of this hole. Because you're in a hole. You ain't 6 feet under yet, G, but you're getting close.
Yep.
Getting close. It'll be interesting. We'll be breaking it down. Appreciate everybody that joined the stream. Hit that thumbs up. Go follow my guy G on Twitter or X at G_sports. We'll be live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Hit that subscribe button. Y'all have a good one.